So I'm here with Phil Harrington from the Connector community. Phil, would you mind just going ahead and sharing a little bit about what you do for your clients?
Oh, sure. I'm a business matchmaker. So I make strategic introductions for our members and then do higher level introduction, then implement that entire system into people's businesses. So we do a couple things there, but we're building a community of people that want to build strategic partnerships and not just network.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those who are watching, Phil is amazing at what he does. And he is one of our Liberation Dojo clients who has gone through our trainings, has
Yes.
experienced the liberation coaching and the liberation session. So, Phil, sounds like there's been a lot of good things that have come out of that for you. But before we get into that, right out of the gate, how did you find me and this program?
Yeah. Of course, it came through an introduction. I don't know if you remember, but the gentleman's name he has two first names.
Daniel.
David Daniel.
Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic guy, but fantastic people know fantastic people. And he's like, you got to meet this guy. And so you and I hit it off right at the beginning. And you always know that when you do a one-to-one, there's about 10% of the time that you just start finishing other sentences. And that's gives your key that you should do more.
Yes.
So then we'd have figured out how to do more.
Amazing. Yeah. No, it was definitely a lot of chemistry right off the bat. We had a lot of things in common, wanted to create a similar mission in our own way. So it was really cool getting to connect and do that type of work together. So for you, when we started our work, what were some of the things that you were struggling before you and I started working together and before you did the training?
Yeah, great question. I was not as polished as I am now, meaning I literally just lived in fear, but I knew that I had to do the calls and I was in the grinding mode all the time. I was on that hamster wheel just trying to make sales. At the time that we met, you don't know this part, but we did our math. We were at 147% attrition in our company, which means I was rebuilding my community every 2 months. And I always figured I could outsell it, but I couldn't because I was just living on fear. And so what was so great about our first session that we did is we identified that survival was the model I was running all of my sales through. So I wasn't even motivated to go make a sale until I was in fear. But then, of course, I didn't want to be in fear. So it was like such an interesting, just that, right? It was like mind blowing.
That's amazing. Yeah. And to recognize that you've been running your whole life on fear and your whole business to realizing that you don't actually have to do things that way. Because a lot of entrepreneurs, they all feel that, especially the
Mhm.
uncertainty of having to be the one who provides the revenue, the value, who you're not getting paid from a boss or an employer of any kind. So it's
Yeah.
all on you. And a lot of entrepreneurs feel that they need to maintain that fear, stress, or anxiety, whatever they want to call it, as fuel. I'm succeeding because of this. I'm using it as fuel. Where the reality is, and I'm sure you've realized this by this point, is that you succeed in spite of that fear. And
Yes.
could you speak a little bit to that on how what that transition was like, moving from being fueled by fear to being in a place of peace, being a place of joy, being a place of freedom?
Yeah. I'll go to this part and then go backwards. I feel like the Lord told me about 4 months ago, get out of the way. And I'm like, so how do you get out of the way of your own business? And what I realized is going through your program, we were just getting ready to go into the second time where we're going to do that liberation side. And you said, set your intention. And so as we did the deal to set our intention, you give us some great questions there. Then I went and said, "Oh, I can't be a salesperson anymore. If I'm going to get bigger, I need to be a visionary. How do I move from that? Oh my gosh, I have no idea, right? But I set the intention and then went in, and that's exactly what God has been speaking to me all this time. So now, what does it look like now? Right. So we started working together about a year ago, I think, something in that nature, and I've gone through your program. You and I worked together, and then I went and learned it. And that's the best way to do it, by the way, just learning the back end. And I've even considered being a liberation coach at some point, but right now I'm just enjoying this. But what does it look like different? Casting that net is catching a lot more fish than using one pole to be a fish, to be that fisherman, right? Or to be that salesperson. And so Now I view everything with, I'm running a team. We now have a salesperson that's running all of the initial calls, and they're filtering the right ones down to me. And I'm at peace. I'm at peace when I wake up and when I go to work. And then I have the tools that I need, that if I do start to come out of alignment, that I can breathe it right down to zero, which is something you guys will learn about in the program. But as you breathe through all of those things, you no longer have that emotional debt, and you can just continue on living in this higher plane, if you will. Imagine living in creation mode all the time. That's where I get to be now. And I just don't even worry about the money anymore. It will come. It always has come. And if I look at my history, God has always taken care of me. I just lived so much I actually really lived more in the future than anything else. That's where that anxiety lives, right? Is in the future. And I always like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to go homeless or whatever. So I lived in anxiety, but we got to learn to live in the present moment. And when those emotions come up, I now have the tools to deal with it. So good to go.
Amazing.
So it's a great place to live. Just even I sit at night with the wife and I'm like, I'm in total contentment. I call it joy versus happiness. So much of us are searching for happiness, and a happiness is like this fleeting thing, I feel like. But when you have contentment and joy, then that's where you want to be. You want to sit with your loved ones and not have to say anything, not have to do anything, not have to be anybody. That you don't have to do anything to get that love, if you will. And what it really comes down to, it all comes down to, we don't think we're enough. So when we get down to the core of everything, we don't think we're enough, and that's why we do all these things, saying, "Look, I'm enough, and I'm enough."
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious about something, because you, as the connector himself, you run the connector community, you're the business matchmaker, you meet all kinds of incredible people who are experts at what they do, right? Like really awesome track record. They're really good. And you have a unique opportunity where you have the option to work with anybody.
Yep.
You have all kinds of choices, especially with like business coaches, life coaches, marketing coaches, like all kinds of stuff. So why did you choose to work with me and Liberation Coach out of all the options that you had available to you?
After the first session, because you and I worked out that first session, I saw more movement, and I've been in therapy. I had gotten divorced 8 years ago, and I knew I needed to be in therapy. So I was doing all that work, all that talk therapy you talk about. And you said this was going to happen, but I did not believe it, of course. So you're like, okay, we'll just come over here and do this one thing, and I'll show it to you. And so after that one, I had more movement than I'd felt, more relief and freedom than I'd ever done. And I thought, oh my gosh, that I have to do more. And you were the only coach I've ever given money to. Just like you said, in my situation, people gift me stuff all the time. They're like, oh, make some this for me. You're an awesome dude, whatever. One thing I really learned through your program is free is a distraction. And you set your boundaries very clear up front. And you were like, no, I'm not going to give you anything. You got to earn it and all this type of stuff. And so anyways, it was that doing that one session with you, it moved the needle in a way that nothing else ever had. Then I turned over money to you, which I've never done before. And I did not have the money when I did it. I did it, and all the sales came.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So obviously in that situation where you have all these opportunities to essentially get coaching for free, because you have people gifting you things because they want you to connect them to your network and all that stuff. So everybody's trying to get on your good side. So if there was anything, what almost prevented you from doing the training, and what put any of those fears or concerns or uncertainties to rest?
When I learned it was a training, like I was going to learn how to do this, my mind went to, I can't take on another thing. So I don't want to go learn a new thing. I just want to sell my thing. But then I remember back in the day, somebody said, the best way to learn something is to be the teacher of it. And I thought, okay, if I can learn the inside and outs of this, then I'm going to get behind the scenes, if you will. So by going through the training, most people were there in our class to actually learn it and become a coach. I was there to learn it so I can know it inside and out. And so you can be either person. Maybe you want to be a coach with this modality, but maybe you just want to get yourself healthy. And by going through it, I went through that framework, but I still have it there. If I ever wanted to go do the coaching part, I could, but right, I just wanted to learn it inside and out so I could, but I guess I was a little nervous to begin with, but I thought, nope, I've already had this movement. I know this works. If I got the insides, this is going to be amazing. So let's go.
That's awesome. So for you, what have been some of the greatest benefits to you, both personally and professionally, from doing this process?
Professionally, we're actually finally building a company. And I think a lot of business owners struggle with only building a new job for themselves. And they doing what they love, but they're the only ones doing it. Maybe they have a small team or whatever. But now I feel like we're actually building a company. Through your frameworks, I was able to pick the right operations manager. I'm able to how to sort people properly, meaning, oh, I need to do more with this person or whatever. But I just live in peace now because I know it's all coming because I'm building a company and I see the vision. And this is the first time I've ever seen from 8 years old. I wanted to make $1 million. Have no idea why. Just that was me. But this is the first time I can see it. I'm going to cash flow $1 million this year and every year after, because I can see how to get there. But I had to get my mind clear in order to do that. And you just got to do the program. It's hard to describe. It's a little bit different for everybody, even though the framework's the same, but you don't know what emotional debt is holding you back, right? I used to get tired all the time. And that was my brain telling me, I'm overwhelmed. I can't handle this. I don't get tired anymore. I just run all day long. But it's because I'm living a mission business now, and in my personal life and everything like that. It's all mission driven, and it's not feast or famine.
Amazing. First, and I think that's phenomenal that you've shifted to more of a visionary perspective of your business rather than just being the salesperson, rather than just giving yourself another job, but actually creating something that's going to have some real enterprise value. Like you said, you're building a company, not just another job for yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's so cool because you're really stepping into the leadership. And in that, what was once what were once tough decisions. Okay, who do I choose as the operations manager? Who do I want marketing this thing? Or who do I want to be the closer, the salesperson? It sounds like those decisions are now very clear to you because your mind is clear and you know how to pick the right person, which is just so cool.
So cool. So cool.
So another question for you is, what surprised you most, or what were you most happy about after joining the program?
I was surprised. Okay. Yeah. I was surprised that once with your frameworks, that thing where we go back in our past and do the whole thing, I was surprised that once you dealt with it, that it was gone. I expected, like all the other programs that I've been through, and I always tell the wife, things work for me for a little bit and then they don't. And it all comes back. Just to tell you guys, years ago, I thought about committing suicide, those types of things, because the demons were so much in my head that I'm just like, oh, it's so much. I guess the thing I was surprised about your program too is that I learned you can never solve any of these problems in your head. So as soon as I was able to take all of the problems out of my head and get them into my body, deal with it in my body, then they went away. And anytime something tries to go back up into my head and thoughts and what have you, I said, well, that's not where we solve problems.
That's right.
So because I don't solve problems there anymore, it stops trying to tell me. So guess what? All the voices went away. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but I would wake up fighting just to stay upright, if you will, because of my past and blah, blah, blah. And we all got those traumatic pasts of some sort. And we're all trying to get somewhere, but it's those voices that keep us down, right? You're not enough. You didn't do this right. Didn't do that right. Blah, blah, blah. But when you learn that nothing is solved inside your head and you can get it into your body so you can deal with it, then it's beautiful. I don't have any voices in my head anymore.
That's amazing. Yeah. You don't have that internal dialogue.
Just internal dialogue.
Bullying you into trying to achieve enough in order to feel worthy or to feel safe or anything like that. Yeah. So that's amazing. For you, what exceeded your expectations with this program?
The breathing down to zero, because There, all you do is breathe. It's the 5 in, 5 out, but it's done in a certain way. And I would do it sometimes and you say 90 seconds, but I would do it sometimes for as much as 45 minutes at the beginning. And I would trust because I knew it worked, right? Because sometimes you're doing things and you're not sure, because I knew I had gotten there before, that I would get there again. And what I realized after talking to you is that we were actually probably dealing with 15 different emotions during that
multiple
45 minutes.
Waves of emotions that are coming through.
But I would just keep going until I learned that my body would go, and that's how I knew I received. And I would just keep breathing until I got that. And then they get faster and faster. And what you don't know now is it's been months since I've been through your program. I get it in 30 seconds or less. Right? It just happens. So cool. And now I sit there going, okay, what's the message as I'm breathing? What's the message? And the messages are so beautiful. That's what's great. And it'll be just this little change in wording or something like that. But the messages, and what I thought was super interesting is it sticks. Once your mind tells you, your unconscious mind tells you, God, Jesus, whatever you want to call it. But once God tells you, this is what I really meant by that emotion, then it doesn't shift. Like it's just there. It's that, you'll have to tell me the wording. I now feel like I'm finally going into that steady emotion. What do you call it when you're no longer dealing with day-to-day emotions? You're steadfast or something like that. You say that.
I've used a lot of words for that, but I call it unshakable inner peace.
That's it. That's what I feel like. That's what I have now.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm listening to you and I'm like beaming because I know this stuff works. And I love seeing when somebody applies it and it works for them in such a profound way. So just on that, like what you just shared about feeling it down to a zero and how you're dealing with your emotions in real time, I always found that people will tell others all the time, especially business owners, you got to feel your emotions, but nobody tells you how to do it. So how has your perspective on feeling your emotions and actually knowing how to deal with them in real time, how has that shifted since joining the program?
Oh yeah, great question. I have always been somebody that would be open to feeling my emotions, open to that, right? I've always been an open book. But again, I thought the emotions were felt inside your head. Mm-hmm. So you start the process of feeling them and then let's talk it out. So what's crazy about your program is there's no talking involved. That's right. If you don't want to say anything, and I realized this along the way, if you don't want to say anything, just breathe because your body knows. You don't need to name the emotion. You don't need to do any of that type of stuff. Just breathe and do it the way you say. Just a quick, how this really impacted us one day, we were going camping. Money is always my trigger. Something came out of our account that was unexpected. I started to spin out literally in the car, and I get to this place where I get real frantic and I start, oh my God, everything's going bad. And my wife can't handle it because she comes from a very peaceful environment. She's not used to all that franticness. And so she got upset, of course. I got upset. I just stopped and started breathing. And within about 5 minutes, not only had I completely come out of it, I started helping her and saying, what can I do to help you? Because when you get in those manic states, you're not trying to help anybody else. You're just trying to get away from it, right? And it was very interesting. That was like, oh my God, this works again. Oh, this works again. So you have to work the program, right? If you're going to do it, you have to continuously do it. Not 1 or 2 times, not even 10 times. It becomes a lifestyle that when this comes up, you breathe it down to 0, right? And then you look for the messages. And it's really simple, but I think it's the consistency. And you really instilled that in us, that you now have the tools. I remember being on a call with you and asking a question. You said, you have the tools to deal with that. And I was like, why are you not telling me the answer? Inside, I'm saying that, right? But it's because I don't need the answer. You gave me the tools.
That's right. And those will last with you through your entire life. I'm sure you've only been using them for less than a year at this point, but you can see that you'll use these for a lifetime.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you shared that story about you being in the car with your wife and that experience that you had. which leads me to my next question, which is how have other areas or other people in your life been impacted by the work that you did in this program?
Yeah, people can tell I'm different. I'm calmer. Things don't rile me up. Most of my kids, I have 5 kids, most of them are estranged from me because of my divorce. They've all come back. We now meet every 3 months and get together, all of us. And it was one of my sons said he would never talk to me again. But when he came back, I was ready. So I think I had to get aligned and what have you. But no, everybody notices I just don't get riled up anymore, especially my wife. When you stop arguing with her over stupid things, and I knew that it was my fault. So I would go, it's my fault. It's my fault. I'm sorry. I'm trying to stop. I'm trying to stop. But when that just went away, she's blown away. Now what I'm learning is that she had some PTSD from my manicness. So now it gives her the space now. So this is going to help your spouses and the people around you, because once you get calm, then they can now express. So there was a period of time that she was angry and didn't know that she was angry. And when I allowed her to just express it whenever you want, because I get it, I put you in a bad spot, then she's able to work that out. Now we're both at peace.
That's so cool. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's one of those things where your transformation ripples out to the people around you and it affects them in very positive ways. And that's part of my intention in the way that I set up this work and these tools and this process. So I got 2 more questions for you before we wrap up, which one of them is, if you hadn't joined the program when you did, where do you think you'd be right now?
I probably would have closed this business down thinking it didn't work and go try to find something else. That was my MO. Every 6 to 12 months, as a salesperson, I'd find a new thing to do because in my mind, it wasn't working. Right. And really what the problem was is I couldn't get past this $6,000 to $8,000 monthly income, which I'm now happy to report averaging over 10, sometimes 20,000, just because my mind's not in the way. But I probably would have quit this business and went and probably went back to being a salesperson to somebody else, because for whatever reason, I'd be like, I just not cut out to be a business owner, or I would be struggling like at that 146% attrition, not figuring out that it was me that was the problem. The way I was selling it, the phoneticness, the craziness on the call, the way I was selling it was wrong. Right now, I'm happy to report we've only lost 1 member in the last 20 that we signed.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So we fixed our attrition.
Yeah. What's the percentage on the attrition now?
It's like 5%, right? Yeah. So
that's a big difference.
That's a huge difference, right? Because you're not rebuilding your business over and over. People don't think about they don't always think about attrition, but especially when you work a model like ours, that attrition is so important, right? Yeah. So that I probably would have either stopped or just kept grinding the way I am and been tired and frustrated and upset all the time because it wasn't happening. But I had to get above it in order to be able to see it.
Definitely. Last question. If there was somebody who was on the fence considering joining this program, what would you say to them to help them make their decision?
I would say the program is more about you as a person than it is about your business or anything else. If you've been brought to this place to even think about it, it most likely is for you. I believe in divine connections and what have you. Yeah, you'll just be stuck where you're at. You probably have tried many things. And I would say this is the only thing for me that's ever worked, but it just makes sense. We had all this stored up debt, emotional debt, and we need to work through it. And we don't have, and I've done talk therapy for years, 10 plus 20 years. I've always been in some type of therapy and it hasn't worked. It's talking out doesn't work. So what do I say to them is it's up to you, right? Do you want that transformation or do you not? But if you've been brought to this place, you probably, because Victor is very intentional about who he works with. And so if you've been brought here probably by a referral or what have you, then it's probably for you.
Amazing. Phil, thank you so much for your time. And it's just such an honor to see you growing the way that you are, and just brings a smile to my face. Just seeing not just how this has affected your business, but again, how it's affected your relationship with your wife, yes. how it's affected your relationship with yourself, and like being able to actually live in a place where you're at peace majority of the time. And yes. If you're not, you know how to get back
Yes, that's the key right there.
Yeah,
Because I never knew how to get back. So I'd be like, what was that thing I did last time when I stopped? It wasn't that I did anything. It's just I finally got distracted enough to not think about it anymore.
that's right.
And I'm celebrating, and and might have went back to drinking. I'm celebrating over 2 years of being alcohol free, drug free. And because I was buffering all the time, and not directly through this program, but the peace allowed me to stay sober. So,
Amazing.
yeah.